who is in control of your life this morning? Having read those, I want to make something really clear about lukewarm people. Lukewarm people are lost. And some of you may be shocked by that statement, but lukewarm people are lost. Too often when we think lukewarm, we assume that we're talking about half-hearted Christians. Christians who are just living it halfway. But the reality is, when you read Revelations 3:16 and 17, you understand that lukewarm people are lost. So because you are lukewarm and neither hot nor cold, I will spit you out of my mouth. For you say, I am rich, I have prospered, and I need nothing, not realizing that you are wretched, pitiable, poor, blind, and naked. Christ would never call his followers poor, wretched, pitiable, blind, and naked, because we are clothed in the righteousness of Christ. He does not see us as any of those things. So what he is merely saying is, there are people in the church who are lost, and they are tarnishing my name. They are lukewarm. They are neither hot nor cold. They are neither lost nor saved. They are ultimately lost living for me, but nothing will come of it. How many of these people are in our church? Barna has a poll, and it says that 70% of the Christians in churches will die and go to hell. Excuse me? What? Are you serious? I don't understand. So 70% of the people in this room right now could die and go to hell, even believing that you have salvation. Revelations 3:1 says this, I know your works. You have the reputation of being alive, but you're dead. He's talking to the church in Sardis, but how applicable is that to us? If he were to look at Kingston Road, would he say, I know your works. People say that you're alive, but you're really dead. If he were to look at the American church, would he say, I know your works. People say that you're alive, but you're really dead. If he were to look at our lives individually, would he say, I know your works. People say that you're alive, but you're dead. Sometimes we're convinced that we're saved. We believe it. People around us believe it. We have the works to justify it. We look real good. But what did Jesus say to the Pharisees? You whitewashed tombs. The outside looks so good, but the inside. You're worried about cleaning the mug on the outside, but not the inside. Where in our lives do we examine the inside and stop putting on a show of pretense and pretend for the people around us? When do we begin to live for Christ and not for the people around us? When do we begin to live for Christ and not the church? When do we begin to live for Christ and not the reward of heaven? When do we begin to live for Christ and not the things and people who surround us every day? When will we fall on our knees and say, we will live for you and you alone? When will that happen? When will the church stop attending and start doing? Matthew 7, verses 15 through 23. Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. You will recognize them by their fruits. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? So every healthy tree bears good fruit, but the diseased tree bears bad fruit. A healthy tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a diseased tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus you will recognize them by their fruits. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. On that day, many will say to me, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name and cast out demons in your name and do many mighty works in your name? And then will I declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you workers of lawlessness. Do you not know the acts of kindness and goodness, mercy, and proclaiming Christ as Lord without the power and presence of Jesus Christ is nothing but filthy rags? It is useless Everything you do good is worth nothing to Christ unless you do it for him and in his name through his power because you're saved. Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name? Did we not cast out demons in your name and do many mighty works in your name? These are not people off of the street. These are people who attend church. These are people who do good things for the name of Christ, who are probably sitting right next to you right now, and Jesus will look to them and say, "Depart from me, I knew you not. You workers of lawlessness." Everything you have done is valueless because it has been apart from me. As the church, are we going to continue that standard? To do things that are good without God? Because if we are, it will be the murder of the church. It will be the murder of our own hearts toward Christ. It will be the ruination of everything that we believe in. Are we working on our own strength this morning, trying to be a part of the church when we haven't truly recognized who runs it and what our goal is? The world around us has built a culture that is good and reasonable, and for many of us, we've fallen into the trap. We need to build security and be safe. We need to have a good financial plan. We want to be successful and have a good work ethic. You should take care of your family and be a good neighbor. And these things in and of themselves are not necessarily wrong, but when they take the place of Christ in your life, they are sin. They are wrong. And why are we living like that? Building for our retirement, building for easy living, building for things that make us happy and content and not Christ alone. There's nothing wrong with retirement from the professional life, but there's something wrong with retirement from the spiritual one. And somehow the two have merged together in our lives. We've retired and we no longer need to work for Christ. For my age people, we're building for retirement. I hear friends of mine that are pastors that say, "I can't wait till I'm out of ministry and can just relax." And every time I hear it, my heart breaks. Because who is the Christ that they serve that they get to retire? Because I've never read anything in this Bible that tells me that once I've fought enough of the good fight, I get to quit. We run the race to the end. We finish well, not half-heartedly. Not because we're old or tired, not because we're sick and indifferent, but because we have a Christ that calls us to more, and we need to stop living like this world. Stop letting the things of this world infiltrate the way that we think about Christ. Where did that happen? That we said, this world is enough for me. We've even gotten to the point where we're living for heaven. Do you realize that that's not right? That it is merely a reward. It is not what we live for. I press on toward the goal for the prize of the upward call of God in Christ Jesus, not in heaven. Let me ask you a question that's really going to hit your hearts, because it did when I asked myself this question. If I could have heaven with all the pleasures that I've enjoyed on this earth, family and friends, good food, no sickness, no pain, but without Christ, would I be okay with that? Would I be okay with a heaven that is all good but no Jesus? And for many of us in this room today, if we had to answer that question honestly, we would feel guilty and ashamed, because we have not lived for the call of Christ in our life. We've lived for our own pleasures, our own desires. We've let the promise of a reward in heaven become more fulfilling than the promise of Christ in our lives right now. Yes, we are sojourners on this planet. We do not belong. But we do not belong in heaven. We belong with Christ.